Hey everyone, Joey here, and today we'll be doing a setup guide for the TrimUI Smart Pro S. Specifically the S, not the Smart Pro without the S, so just keep that in mind. Everything mentioned today will be in the description, so that's where you're going to find all of the links that you need. This guide is going to take you through updating the firmware, using a brand new SD card, and doing all of the setup. So the purchase list for today is a branded SD card. 128 gigs or 256 gigabyte is more than enough for what this plays, and a USB SD card reader if you don't have one. Since there's likely a lot of you that bought the device with an SD card, likely an unbranded SD card that will fail at some point, you're going to want to back up that ROMs folder to your PC. And I'm going to show you later how you can transfer it back to the new branded SD card. Personally, I would suggest that you replace the ROMs as well, especially any Pokemon ones, as they do have problems saving. And you're going to experience that when it hurts the most. So that is solely a bad ROMs issue, and a lot of them do come with these devices, so just be aware of that. The ROMs folder is easily accessible. Connect your existing SD card if you have one to the PC, and you should see it right there in the drive. If not, head into Disk Management in Windows, find the drive, and give it a drive letter to be able to see it. Just copy and paste the ROMs folder to your PC to back it up. Okay, we now need to format our SD card as FAT32. So connect your SD card to the PC using an SD card reader, and we need a tool called Rufus to format it. So head over to the Rufus website and you can just grab the portable version. Go ahead and open it, and then double check your SD card is listed. Go ahead and change the boot selection to non-bootable. Then make sure that the file system says FAT32 or large FAT32. You can also give the volume a name if you want. I'm going to call it TrimUI. And you can copy me if you want. Go ahead and click start and then yes to any pop-ups. Now, just a quick note, 9 out of 10 people that have issues with SD cards after formatting them is because they used a laptop SD card reader. I would suggest that you always use a USB branded SD card reader to avoid any issues. Head over to 7zip.org and download 7zip if you don't already have it, and we need this to extract the zips that we're about to download, so go ahead and install 7zip once you do. Alright, so now the very first thing we want to do is update the firmware of the device. So we're going to head to the TrimUI GitHub for firmware releases, and you want to grab the latest release. And it'll always have the latest tag, so you want to double check for that. And you want the file that doesn't say SD_recovery. It's going to say TrimUI_TG5050. Download that. Go ahead and copy that zip to the newly formatted SD card. Then right-click it, go to 7zip, and extract here. Go inside of the extracted folder, copy all of the files, and then paste them to the root of the SD card. Delete that folder after and the zip. Safely eject the SD card when all that's done, and you can pop it into your turned off device. Hold down the volume minus key and then the power button as well. Once you see the green progress bar on screen, you can let go of both buttons. When it's done, it's going to reboot, and then you can just turn it off using the power button and then off. Awesome, our firmware is now up to date. In the future, for any firmware updates, all you need to do is grab the new firmware, put it on the SD card, and follow the steps that we just did during the boot to update. Go ahead and reconnect the SD card back to the PC. This time, we need to head to the TrimUI GitHub for SD package releases. And once again, find the latest, and as of this video, it's going to be a little bit different than normal. Usually, there is only one file that we need, TrimUI_SmartPro_S_TG50, and that's the one that we want, so grab that. But with this release, TrimUI also released a hotfix, so let's grab that second download too. In the future, you're only going to need to grab one of them, unless it's the same scenario in the future for all of them. Go ahead and copy the non-hotfix zip that we just downloaded to the SD card. Right-click, 7zip, and extract here. This is going to take a few minutes, and then when it's done, just delete that zip. Then you want to copy the hotfix zip to the SD card. Right-click, 7zip, extract here. Yes to any overwriting of files, and then you can delete that zip when that's done too. At this point, if you did back up the ROMs folder, just paste it into the root of the SD card, and it's going to overwrite the existing ROMs folder that's here now. For those of you that are starting fresh, you're going to need ROMs and BIOS files. ROMs are games, and BIOS files are the system files for CD-based systems. I have videos on both of these subjects in the description, and that's going to point you into the right direction. I would advise starting slow. Maybe grab a few Game Boy games and PlayStation 1 games just to start. That way you get used to the process, and then you can expand from there. ROMs and games go inside of the ROMs folder, and then in the right system folder. So GB is Game Boy, and then FC is NES, SFC is SNES, MD is Genesis, and those are usually the ones that confuse people. The rest of the folders should be pretty self-explanatory for what systems they're for. For BIOS files, you're going to have to go into the RetroArch folder, which is on the root of the SD card, then .RetroArch, System, and you're going to want to place your BIOS files directly inside of here, not in any subfolders. Now, my device, for whatever reason, seemed to have them already, so I think it came with the ST package. So you likely have them as well, and in that case, then you don't really need to get any BIOS files because they're all kind of here. But again, you want to go slow with this section. Just add a few games, that way you can get familiar with the process and then come back later and you can add some more. Once you've added some ROMs and BIOS files if you need to, go ahead and safely eject the SD card and put it into your powered off device and turn it on. Okay, and now with the SD card inserted, which I have right here, we're just going to turn it on. And now we can finally do a tour of the actual operating system and everything. So just hold it for a little bit. You'll see the TrimUI logo. And we'll just wait a little bit for it to load in. Okay, so you might load into a different spot that I'm in. I'm in recent right now. That's kind of where it put me. But you can see the top, there is different sections. So we have recent, and we can go over to favorites using L1. Then we can go over back to games. And if you put everything in the proper spots, you should see your games here. So I'm going to jump into something that I know, like Famicom, which is NES. And you can see all of my NES games are here, and I can just scroll down and go through them. If I back out, I can go into Game Boy. You'll see them here. Now, if you don't see them, you might not see them, push the little menu button on the bottom, and you can do refresh ROMs. Keep this in mind. Sometimes you have to do this to show all of your ROMs. So just push it and it'll refresh all of your ROMs just in case maybe it didn't update for whatever reason. Now, we saw recents, we saw favorites. If we go into a system and then we just go into menu on one of the items, you can add to favorites. So if I add Adventure Island to favorites, now I can see it here on the favorites list. Gonna go back into Game Boy. Menu is pretty useful. You can actually delete games and stuff too, if you want to, right from the menu button. So there's options here. There is another option that you want to know about, and it's pushing X to change the core that is being used for the game. So you can see here we have Gambate and MGBA that you can be using. If we go into, let's say, NES, and I do the same thing, we have FCEUMM and Nestopia. So you have options for different games, different cores, emulators, that sort of thing. Let's jump over into next ports. There might be some ports that you have here. 2048 is one of them. If you have any ports, you can throw it into the ports folder. That's where they would go. We move over, there's apps. So you can see there's the Fnkey setting. So if we go down here and we push that, Fnkey setting, so it's telling you right now, Fnkey setting, when you push it to the right, what do you want to happen? It's basically this little key down here. So whenever it's being pushed to the right, all of this stuff applies at the moment. Or you can just select whatever you want. So let's say, I don't know, maybe you want where LEDs go off when you push it into Fnkey mode. So when you push it into on, the LEDs will turn off and on. You might have to exit for it to actually apply. Give me a second, push it on, there we go. LEDs turn off, LEDs turn on. So whatever you want that little switch to do, it's up to you. There's a quiet mode, silent mode, turbo buttons, it's all up to you. I don't really use this, but you can if you want to. Let's back out. Moonlight, if you want to do any streaming, which you're not going to have a great time on here, but if you want to, I would suggest that you never use USB storage or SD formatter. There have been reports of the previous TrimUI Smart Pro where if you tried to do a USB-C and then use USB storage, it corrupts the files. So I would suggest that you never use either of these. That's just my suggestion. You also have RetroArch here, which you can make changes to RetroArch. So for example, if we jump right in, one of the things you might want to do is retro achievements, for example. So if we go over into, I don't usually use this UI. Oh, right here. If we go down here, you're going to see there is achievements right there, and you can turn on achievements and then do your retro achievements. Just remember, when you're done that, you have to save it. So go over into configuration file and save current configuration to save everything. Then you can just quit if you need to. If we continue over, there's net play, which it's a little difficult to explain into a video like this. Display, this is where you can change the brightness, LED brightness, lock screen time. So you have a few different options. Now, you don't actually have to go into display to change the brightness. One handy thing, if you would know, all of these devices come with little manuals, and they're actually super useful, especially in this case with the TrimUI and what it tells you to do, like adding games, add game thumbnails. You should really check out the manual. But one of the things it tells you is the hotkey for brightness, which is start plus L, start plus R. So if we do that here, and we push start plus L, look at that, it works. Manuals, man, they're awesome. You just got to use them. They're really good. Anyways, let's continue on. We have volume here, and you can change the volume, the background volume, rumble, keytones, all of that. Wi-Fi, you probably want to connect to Wi-Fi if you're going to be doing retro achievements, so you can go do that in here. Hotspot, you can use this as a hotspot. I probably wouldn't work that well, but you can do that if you want. Bluetooth, if it's like the TrimUI Smart Pro, the original one, you can only do Bluetooth audio, not Bluetooth controllers, so just keep that in mind. You can try it, but it was only audio for the previous TrimUI Smart Pro. You can change the theme if you want to a different theme. And we continue on into key map, which I wouldn't touch. You don't really have a reason to change it. We are on default right now. There is a tate mode, kind of, so you can do that. You can change the confirmation button if you want it to be B. Home shortcut, so there is a shortcut at the top, which we'll talk about in a second, and then just using the stick and all of that. Homepage, you can change stuff on the homepage if you want. It's options here. And then system. So if we go into system, you can power off, or you can just hold the power to turn it off. You can change the fan speed, so it's on auto right now. Refresh ROMs is here too. You can change the date and time. There is a bunch of stuff here. Factory reset, if you're going to be selling it to somebody, you want to factory reset it. You can calibrate the joystick, which was something we had to do on the original Smart Pro. So if you're finding that the joystick is a little weird, just come here and calibrate joystick and then do it. And that's kind of it. You can even see here in device info what your firmware version and all of that is, just in case you see an update and you're like, did I do that already? You can come check and see what version you're on before doing anything. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to push the little home button. It's right at the top here. So if I push home, it's like a little menu that you can change things. So you have the brightness, you have the volume. So you can do all here instead of the actual hotkey if you don't want to. You can change the fan speed, CPU. You can change or take a look at the CPU. You can check the temps. You can even turn off or on Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, the LEDs, rotate, I would assume. Maybe not rotate. Rumble, whatever it is. Either way, you have options here. I am not actually certain what these two do. Whenever I push them, they don't really do anything. I think this is music, or if you have some music playing, so this might be the controls for that, but yeah, so options. Again, I'm not familiar with every single thing they've added, but I can help you with most of the stuff. Let's go ahead and launch a game. So I'm just gonna jump into, let's say Game Boy here. I'm going to go into Adventure Island. So we're gonna jump in, and here we go. And now we're in Adventure Island. Now, there are certain things that you can configure at this point. So maybe you don't like all of this like I don't. The menu button on the bottom will bring you here. And this is important. So there are 3 ways to actually save games technically on the TrimUI Smart Pro. The first one is you can save in-game as normal. As if you weren't playing an emulator, you save like Pokemon. You push start, you click save, that's it. Otherwise, you can click save here, and this will save as a save state. So if I go and do that here, you're gonna see it right there. If I go over to load, I can go and load that save state. So it's a save state. However, that's different than a normal save state in RetroArch. They save in the different places for some reason. So if we go into advanced menu, this is gonna open up RetroArch now. And you can see if we scroll down, there is something called save state right down here. And so if I go and save that state, it is different than the actual state that we saved before. So it's a little confusing, but you have options for saving. It all depends on what you want to do, because you can set a hotkey to save state if you want to. It's up to you. Now, we're in the RetroArch menu. If you scroll down here, you're going to see on-screen overlay. If I turn that off, that's going to get rid of the on-screen overlay, the little sidebars that we had there. And also, looks like there is a shader applied. If I go to shaders and I turn that off, it's going to turn those off too. So if I go back in now, you're going to see I turned off the shader and I turned off the overlay. You might be like me and you might not like that stuff, so I turned that off. But what we have to do is save that. So go back in, go into Advanced Menu, and you want to go down into Overrides, which is right down here. It might be a little bit hard to see. And if you go into Overrides, you're going to see that it already has a content directory override because it says remove content directory override. That means there is one applied already. So what I'm going to do is just save a content directory override. So I'm going to overwrite what's there already. Basically, now, when I go and load up another game, which we're going to go do, so I'm going to exit here. We'll go open up Adventure Island 2. And you're going to see in a second that it's not going to have the overlays and it's not going to have the shaders. See, there we go. So that all depends on what you want to do. If you want to remove it on a per game basis, you can do that. If you want to remove it for everything, you can do that. If you want to change the core options, maybe you don't like how this looks, because I certainly don't. So if you want to go in and change it from the internal palette from, I don't know, GBC yellow to GBC grayscale, you can do that. Now it's more gray. You have a lot of options here. So just keep that in mind as to how you can change things. Now keep that in mind, all we did was do that for Game Boy. Because we did content directory, that means everything in the Game Boy folder is affected now. However, if we go over into Game Boy Advance and I boot up Advance Wars, just the first one that's there, you're going to see that it's going to have the overlays and shaders applied again. So you are going to have to repeat those steps for each system that you want to remove them for. So it's up to you. But you just go right back in, and I'm going to do it quickly for you just to show you. So we go into Advanced Menu, and we scroll right down, and you want to go to On-Screen Overlay, turn that off, go over into Shaders, turn that off, go into Overrides, and you want to do, if you want to save it as a per game, you can do that, but we're going to save it as a content directory override right there. Head back, resume, and it's gone, and it's going to be gone from all Game Boy Advance games going forward now. Now to exit, for right now, we're going to push the menu button and use Exit Game. Reminder, you can just use this menu if you want to. So we'll exit game, you can use it for save states, all of that fun stuff. But we haven't set up hotkeys yet, and there aren't any hotkeys set up at the moment. So let's go and do that now. If we back out and we go right back into Apps, and we want to go back into RetroArch, let's go right back in. Now, I'm going to move this up a little bit closer. Let's go over into Input. We're going to go over into Hotkeys. Now, I've been playing around with this already, so I have it set to button 4, which is Select, but that's not the best button to use. What I'm actually going to do is change that to L3. That gives me more room for different controls. So that means L3 plus other buttons is going to be our hotkeys. So if I go down, we're going to leave menu toggle as the guide button. So don't touch that, change that. We're going to go over to quit, and I'm going to set this to Y. What that means is when I push L3 and Y, it's going to quit out a game. You can set that to start too if you want, but I usually like Y. If we go over, fast forward toggle, I'm going to set that to R2. That means when I push L3 plus R2, it's going to fast forward. Scroll down, and we can go over to load state. So I'm going to push that as L1 and save state, R1. Let's go all the way down. And the last one that I like to do is show FPS, which is right down here. And I set that to A. Perfect. Now, what we're going to do is go back, configuration file, save current configuration, and we're going to quit. And now I'm going to go jump into a different game. So let's go into games. We'll go over into, I don't know. We have to make sure it's using RetroArch. So we're going to go into Super Nintendo, and I'm just going to do Adventures of Batman and Robin. Okay, now we're in. So if I push L3 plus A, there's the FPS in the top. If I push L3 plus R2, there's the fast forward. If I push L3 plus R1, that's the save state right there. And I'm actually going to make this a little bit easier. I'm going to go in, and now if I push L1, there we go, right back to that save state. But what I want to do is show you what happens. So there we go. We're going to go in, we're in here. If I go down here and I go to save, our save state is in here. So like I was mentioning before, there are 3 different ways to save depending on what you're going to do. I would suggest that you kind of use 1 or 2 of them. I would always use the in-game save no matter what, and then either use the menu-based save or the save state using the hotkey. It is up to you, but unfortunately they put them in 3 different spots for whatever reason. So that's kind of what you have to deal with. Now to exit, L3 plus Y will get us out, and we have a little press again to quit, which is kind of annoying. So you're gonna have to push it twice, and we'll go turn that off because I forgot to do it. Head back into RetroArch, and we're going to go right into input again as soon as it loads. Right over, go over into input. We're going to find confirm quit and just turn that off. And then remember, we have to save. So go to configuration file, save current configuration, back out and quit. Now that's going to cover all of RetroArch, all the RetroArch systems. So it won't be covering PPSSPP and all the other emulators that are on their own, but you likely just have covered pretty much a lot of the games that you're going to play. So now we're all pretty much set up for everything that you want to play. Now, this is fun. Just in case that happens to somebody, I'm going to jump into a PPSSPP game because a lot of people are going to be playing PSP on this. I'm just going to jump into the first one. And this is going to be extremely fun. When we push menu, it is all in Chinese. So what I'm going to do is translate this to help you convert this back to English, just in case it helps, or just in case it happens to you. So what we're going to do is head over into setup, which is settings, and we have to find system, which should be on the right here. We're going to go over to system, which is that one there. And then I'm going to turn this phone a little sideways there so we can get an idea of what's going on. It's the first one. So simplified Chinese is what it's set to. And I'm going to go ahead and set it to English. There we go. We are back in English. So if you need to remember how I did that, just menu button, second from the top, go down to system, which looks like it is sixth from the top. Then it's the first one, language, and you can change that to English. And we are now back in English. But menu gets you to the PPSSPP menu, and you can see here there's a bunch of things you can do. You can save states, load state, all of that fun stuff. You can exit the menu, all of that. So just keep that in mind. That's how you can use PPSSPP. And we're going to exit again, and we're done here. Aside from that, really, that's kind of all I wanted to share with you today. So hopefully that gives you a good rundown of what you can do with the TrimUI Smart Pro S, how you can add games, how you can get set up, play those games, and all of that. So enjoy the device, have some fun. And yeah, that's kind of all I had for you today. So don't forget to like and sub to help the channel grow. Come join me on the Discord to talk all about the TrimUI Smart Pro S. Support me through YouTube membership if you like my stuff. And hope you all have a good one.